everyone, Synthetic Future here, and today we're at the other end of the attic, behind the drum kit, but we're not going to talk about the drum kit itself. We are going to talk about a little bit of software by XLN Audio. And the software we're talking about is Addictive Drums 2. Now, just to make sure we're all on the same page with this, this is not a video about either the kit or my playing, because I haven't played in pretty much months. Well, I played a little bit before because this video got corrupted and I had to shoot again, so this is take 2. So this is not about my playing, which is rather crappy, or about this specific kit. This is just about the software, Addictive Drums 2. And before we get all these Glenn Vicker kind of people in here shouting how samples and stuff are the death of the industry and all sorts of dramatic stuff, some people only have an e-kit or only have space for an e-kit. Some people live in a neighborhood like me, where a real drum kit just simply isn't an option because, well, you're going to have a bad time with an acoustic drum kit in your attic in a suburban area. Let me put it that way. So for all the people out there just like me, with just an e-kit, this might be the sort of software that is exactly what you're looking for. Also a little preemptive mention is that this kit is not the greatest drum kit in the world. It's not all that great at dynamics, nor is my playing, because, well, my background is in metal drumming, and dynamics and metal drumming are not completely friends. So it's a combination of my playing and this kit that will limit the range of sound Addictive Drum can make. And also this kit doesn't have the mesh heads, which does make a big difference in playing. So if you're ever going to pick up an e-kit, definitely make sure it's a mesh head kit. You can thank me later, because these plasticky thingies are not all that great. Anyways, without further ado, let me get into the software, which we are running on another PC. Another advantage of MIDI, of course, is you can just take it anywhere. So I'll see you on the other side and we'll splice some playing footage in there, alright? Alright, so at the DAW side, this is XLN Audio Addictive Drums 2. Now there's a lot of ground to cover here, so I'll just try to separate it in a few bits. Let's start off with pricing, then we'll talk a little bit about Addictive Drums combined with e-kits, so for drummers. And then I want to get into a little bit of a more production side of thing, where maybe you're not a drummer, but you still are interested in drumming software. Let's talk a little bit about what Addictive Drums has to offer in that field. So starting off with pricing, Addictive Drum itself is just the interface. So you always need Addictive Drums plus some kits. Now these kits are named add packs in the Addictive Drum library. So you have add packs, you have kit pieces. Kit pieces are single drums or single cymbals, all that sort of stuff. So just individual instruments. And then there's MIDI packs, which include MIDI of different genres being played by session musicians. So that's the 3 things you have: the add packs, the MIDI packs, and the kit pieces. Now in my opinion, best way to go about this is get the Addictive Drums Custom or Custom XL pack, in which case you can choose 3 or 5 drum kits to your liking. I think that's the best way to go, because the basic pack does give you 3 drum kits, but those kits may not be what you need. So the custom offerings just give you a little bit of extra space to customize it to your liking. In total, they offer 21 different types of kits, And these are complete kits, so it's both the shells, bass, and all the cymbals. And aside from that, they have 14 different kit pieces, which you can add to your collection. There's also a really big library of MIDI packs for your liking if you want to use MIDI instead of playing things yourself, which we will get into in the more producer side of things. So when you buy Addictive Drums, you always get at least 3 drum kits included. Now I went the custom route and I have downloaded 4 kits so far, so I still have 1 kit, and that's the nice thing. You don't have to choose on the spot which kits you want. You can just get, I don't know, 2 kits for instance, and keep your 3rd kit for when you have a better view of what you want. So that's a very nice model. Same goes for the kit pieces and same goes for the MIDI. You don't have to instantly choose what you want. You can just hold on to those potential kits and redeem them whenever you feel fit. So the kits I have, and I don't want to go too much into detail with the specific kits, but I have a Black Velvet, United Heavy, the Metal kits, and Real Machines. And if you move along, you'll get into the kits I don't have: Firefox 2, Mallets, Son RB, Pop, Vintage Fry, all these kits. So you can demo these kits or buy them through the software, through the launcher, or through the website. But let's go back. Our Black Velvet kit. So in these demos I've spliced in, I've been using the United Heavy kit. So I want to demo a little bit of this kit specifically. So let's open up this track where I have the MIDI from that session. And that's the nice thing of having MIDI, is you can actually just switch kits on the go. Now you do have to keep in mind that of course when you're playing you have feedback of your kit, so you will play different on different styles of kits, but it's still pretty nice to be able to quickly change your kit if you feel the need, or when things don't exactly fit the way you want to. Another nice little thing here is you can audition the kit with whatever MIDI is active. So you can hear what the kit sounds like before you even play on it, and you get a few quick controls right up here with your kick, snare, hi-hat, overheads, and the room tone, so you can quickly dial in the sound you want. So if you want more overheads or more room tone. That's completely something you can do. And this is the sort of main screen with the presets. So you have a bunch of presets here. You can move one screen along and you'll get a few more presets. And the nice thing is, even a kit like the Black Velvet kit, it goes all the way from being a weird, trashy, almost effects-like drum kit to just normal drum kits. So you have quite a bit of space to customize your sounds just from these screens. And the nice thing is you can go even deeper. You can actually dive into your kit. And here you can customize every single parameter of the drum kit. And if you have multiple kits, you can also mix and match. So these are all the toms I have available. You can also change the cymbals if you want to. These are all the cymbals I have available. And there's also options to stack sounds if you want to. So you can stack, for instance, kick sounds. So for instance, we can load in a kick here. That's with Ludwig. And now we can link this to the kick. And we get both kicks whenever the kick is playing. And we can solo this one. Or solo this one. So that's pretty cool. One thing to note here is this is your max grid. This doesn't mean you can't employ more parts. You can through the MIDI mapping, which we will get into later on. But this is the max amount of parts you can adjust through these settings. In these settings, the lower you click on the cymbal or a tom or whatever, the softer the velocity. And if you move up, you get higher velocity. So that allows you to sort of hear the instrument at different velocity levels. Same goes here, by the way. You can click low on the tom, or you can click high on the tom, and move through the range. So that's a pretty cool little feature to quickly audit sounds to see if it fits what you're trying to do. And aside from all these options here, you can also dive even deeper in every part. So you have the mixer down here. But you can also go way deep and you can go into, for instance, the kick. And this is our kick drum. And here you can set the overhead level, room level for just the kick drum. You get some extra tone settings for transient control, pitch, volume envelopes. You can actually set a compressor or a distortion for every individual little sound source. You can add noise, tape sound, everything here. And you can send it to the effects. And in the effects you have a reverb / delay where we can enhance the sound even more. So there's a whole lot under the hood which you can mess around with, but if you don't want to, you can just use the presets and they already sound pretty good. So what I forgot to mention here is that you can actually output every single instrument to any lane in your DAW, so you can also use your own external effects if you want to. Just for heresy's sake, I am going to demo a little bit with my MPK here, because you don't have to use a drum kit. You can also use a MIDI controller. Now the MPK Mini is not the greatest MIDI controller in the world, but it will give us a little bit of a simpler option to show some things, like for instance dynamics. So if you play soft, and again, the MPK Mini has a bit of a limited range. If you play really soft, it barely registers it, but it gives you a little bit of an idea of the range of these instruments. And I think it really does offer quite a good range of dynamic sound. So you can play it softly, you can play it loudly if you want to. Of course, better on any kit with good response, but it gives you a little bit of an idea. And with the cymbals, you can also do kind of that cymbal fill thing. And That's pretty neat. I'll clip in a piece where I actually do some cymbal fills for the E-kit, and you can hear that it sounds pretty nice. So let's talk a little bit about your mapping options here, because that's pretty interesting as well. If you click the little question mark, you get the map window, and here you can set up the mapping for your drum kit. Now you can make your own maps, and you can use the built-in maps, which cover a pretty wide range of electronic drum kits. If there's anything you don't like, you can quite easily remap it. So let me just keep it on this current kit. And here you can see which MIDI input is connected to which sound. So let's say, for instance, you want to add a sound. You can just click whatever key you want. You can choose what you want. You can just drag it in. And now this MIDI note is assigned to this sound. And you can also change the velocity curve if you want to. And this allows for a bit of extra flexibility with the sounds you want to use. You can also set up your hi-hat here. So if you want to have one of those open-close hi-hat contraptions on your kit, you can calibrate it here. At which CC value it will open and close the hi-hat, and which of the 4 open amounts it will use for that specific CC value. So that's pretty cool. And you can set the open and close sensitivity, so you can actually do hi-hat splashes as well, so that's pretty awesome. Cymbal choking is also supported if your E-kit supports it. And yeah, so that allows for quite a few possible inputs. And it's kind of nice that they have presets for most of the common drum kits. So what if you're not a drummer? Is this software still interesting to you? And I would say it's still a pretty interesting piece of software, even if you're not a drummer, because it does come with quite a few MIDI beats, which you can use in your productions, and all of these are played by session musicians, so they are not your typical full velocity beats. I believe the one I have here is actually pretty okay, but let's just go somewhere. Let's do this beat, for instance, for demonstration's sake. Okay, so let's take this beat. You can just drop it straight into your DAW. And if we open it up, you can see that it's not 100% tight in both the timing and the velocity. So there's a little bit of a swing already in there, and that's because this is played and not just programmed. So that's kind of neat. Now, of course, if you are just going to use this beat for whatever your entire track, for instance, it will be very repetitive. So it would be advisable to at least use, for instance, the humanization function in many DAWs to mix it up a little bit from beat to beat, or every few beats, just to add a little bit of a more human feeling to it. But you can quite easily do that in most DAWs. Yeah. I mean, it's not flawless, of course, but this is definitely loads better than just straight up MIDI with everything velocity maxed. There's a bit of feel here. And you can also, that's something I forgot to mention, you can also from Addictive Drums actually randomize the timing and velocity right in here. So if you want a little bit more variation here, you can totally do that with the velocity. So yeah, quite a lot of power here, straight in this drumming VST, which I think is pretty awesome. So it's both for the people who just want to use an E-kit. You can quite easily set it up with your E-kit just by using these preset mappings. Now, your exact kit might not be in here, but like I showed, you can quite easily just move things around here and get exactly the setup you want, save it, and then never think about it again, because you can just set it as a default, which is pretty amazing. Right here, set as default. Every time you open up AD, it will load that thing, so you will instantly be ready to play within seconds. And this thing loads pretty fast, by the way. I did not mention that, but it actually loads pretty fast, especially if stored on an SSD. Very easy to use. So that's pretty cool. And actually I've used this quite a lot in tracks as well, because it's very easy to, once you set up, for instance, you found a cool pad sound, you made a cool pad progression, and you're like, oh, I want to know what it's like with drums. You can just quickly drop in Addictive Drums, grab one of those pretty generic straight grooves, for instance. And it does help to add instantly a bit of a feeling of what drums would sound with your specific track. So that's a very nice quick feature to get things going. And of course, from that point on, you can either replace those drums with your own drums, or just move the MIDI around, or use different parts, because most of these beats come with variations, so you can just drop in variations where you want to. And that's a neat little feature right there. So what are my closing thoughts about Addictive Drums by XLN Audio? I'm very positive about this piece of software, both as a drummer and as a producer, I guess, because it's very easy to use. It's also very reasonably priced. You can pick up the basic or basic custom with free kits for $196.95. I really hate it when companies do that. $170, there we go, much easier. And if you want 5 kits, it's $340, which is not extremely cheap, but considering you get 5 entire drum kits, that's actually a pretty decent deal. And they do have sales fairly regularly where you can pick them up cheaper. I think there's actually a sale going on AdKits right now. So yeah, you can definitely get it a bit cheaper than this if you are patient enough and wait for the right time. At which point I would say it's a very good value proposition to have 3 or 5 kits at your disposal, which are very easy to map, very easy to customize, offer a lot of very diverse presets, which is also very nice for the people who don't want to mess with every single parameter. And you can get a pretty big library of basic beats in whatever style you need to quickly map out your drums, create IDs, create tracks, whatever you want to do. So yeah, For me, XLN audio, Addictive Drums is definitely a go-to. No, this doesn't mean it's completely without flaws, of course. So a few things to note is this doesn't have a built-in sequencer, so you can't use one of the classic sequencer forms to program this drum. That can be a downside if that's your workflow, of course. And another thing to keep in mind is that this VST isn't very heavy on like oriental sounds or more world music kind of sounds. So that's something you won't find in this specific VST. So if that's something you're after, you're probably going to have to look at other VSTs to fill that gap. I hope this video helped you a little bit. I want to do another video going a little bit more in depth about all the controls, but for now this will be this video. And I hope it helped you a little bit with making a decision if Addictive Drums is something you might be interested in. So I'm going to say have a great day and see you around.